Okay, thank you so much for being here. I was invited to present to all of you the project. So this is a consortia, European consortia, and this is the acronym of the project, MPA, which means Marine Protected Areas, MPA4sustainability. And the title is Enhancing MPA's Role in Restoring Biodiversity while Maintaining Access to Ecosystem Services. This is an initiative of this organization, which is called Biodiversity. And first, I will give a little bit of information about what kind of project it is, what kind of call. Then I will move to the goals and expected impact. And then, if I have time, I will explain some of the modeling that we have started to do with this project. So this project was submitted in the 2021-2022 joint call. That was supporting the protection of biodiversity, paying special attention in marine ecosystems, okay, aquatic systems. So Biodiversity Plus is a co-funded organization. It's new. It's supporting research on biodiversity, paying special emphasis in the impact for policies and societies in order to try to connect science with specific actions at the level of ecosystems. And well, it was officially launched in 2021. Okay. So this is just for curiosity. So there are 34 participant countries funded by 46 organizations. So in this call, there were 172 pre-submissions, pre-proposals, and 92 were selected for developing full proposals. So in this project, you just need to prepare a brief draft of what you want to do. And then finally, 22 projects were recommended for funding. Unfortunately, one of these projects was ours. And this is a co-fund project. So then we need to submit the same project to the National Research Agency in the framework of projects of international collaboration. So for this specific call, this is a 3 years project. And the themes that should or have to be addressed are 3. They are not exclusive. So the first one is identifying priority conservation areas, okay, in order to establish effective and resilient ecological networks. Here, resilient means that ecosystems can adapt to changes, mainly to perturbations, okay? And of course, enhancing biodiversity and preserving both ecological and genetic biodiversity. So the other one is to explore the benefits and costs of protection, biodiversity, and ecosystems, because we must not forget that these are socioecological systems. So here we have a lot of interactions between species and human activities. And then finally, to establish effective management actions, always keeping in mind to maximize biodiversity and also ecosystem services. This is one of the key points of this project. So this is some information of our project. It theoretically starting from the European point of view in March 21. The coordinator is David Lusso from Denmark. This is the starting date that we wrote in our application for the National Research Agency. This is the final resolution. Okay, so mainly it's like a lot of delay, but so the project started officially like 1.5 months ago. But fortunately, we can apply for an extension in order to fulfill the 3 years of the project. So these are the partners of the project. This project is very interesting, at least from us that we are applied mathematicians, because it integrates people working in the field, the ocean. We have partners that are monitoring biodiversity. As you will see, we have also some case studies. So, and as I said, our part from CRM and some colleagues in Barcelona, I will explain now. The idea is to use the mathematical modeling for guiding policies. Okay, and I think this is a breakthrough in this project. And of course, it's not an easy thing to do, but we will try to do our best. So there is a group in Denmark, the coordinators. Then we have a group in France, Portugal, specifically in Madeira, Then we have in Catalonia, we have the CRM and the Institute of Evolutionary Biology. Both of us are groups working with theoretical ecology. The groups at the IBE are more specialized in network theory and also in Sweden. Okay, so these are us. And the funders are mainly the national foundations of each of the country. Okay, so these are the countries involved in the project. So now I will move to the context of the project. Okay, now this was just some information about the nature of the project. So this is a map where we can see different spots with different colors. These are different marine protected areas. So the marine protected areas are covering 9% of the oceans, and there are like 17,000 worldwide. Most of them are governed by federal or national agencies. Fallo. Okay, thank you. And also subnational agencies. Okay, so these are like 80%. The pointer is not working. Okay. So here the point is that only 23% of these marine protected areas have a clear management plan, okay, and only one had specific management action. So this is a very new problem which opens very important questions in ecology and management. Okay, so of course management plans have a lot of obstacles, economical, infrastructures. So this is not an easy thing to do. As I said, most of these MPAs do not have clear plans for management. Okay, and the idea of make a transformative change in MPA is to work in ecosystem restoration, okay, for degraded ecosystems, in conservation, in the improvement of biodiversity. And it's not here, but also to try to make a balance between ecosystem services, for example, fishing, tourism, infrastructures in the shoreline, whatever, compatible with maintenance of biodiversity. So here there is a key gap, and actually our project will use conceptualization of this intervention working in complex socioecological systems. And as I said, we are covered also by people interested in managing MPAs and also in people sampling in these areas and making field studies. Okay, so what is the project? What are the main activities of the project? So the idea is based on the established MPAs. So there is a work package that is studying how biodiversity is found in the existing MPAs, is to estimate how changes in biodiversity associated with the establishment of MPAs, where these MPAs are placed, how these MPAs are embedded in space, and also management are related to ecosystem services. So the underlying idea of the project is how we can maximize ecosystem services without harming the ecosystems. Another activity which is especially devoted to our groups, to the work package 2, it's to study these socioecological networks. And here, so if you look to the literature, you will see that there is a lot of research on MPAs, a lot of theory developed. Now it's time to move to the real world using mathematics to study, for example, how a size of the MPAs, how the distances between MPAs, how the connectivity of MPAs can influence biodiversity and ecosystem services. Okay, and here there is a interesting work to do in the framework of bifurcation theory, which is a field that I like a lot, by detecting tipping points. So changes that ecosystems can have sometimes in an irreversible manner. So also there are groups that are working in how we can monitor progress in this ecosystem. So which key species we need to monitor in order to obtain information about the health of the ecosystem. And also, of course, integrate all this information, including strong mathematical modeling and data. Okay, this sounds very topical, but for this project is very important in order to guide policy analysis. So we have specific questions that we can address with the modeling. So the idea is by means of the models, by means of the, there is a group that is working in what they call intelligent monitoring, and is how to monitor species in time in order to have useful information to follow the time evolution of the ecosystems. Okay, is to develop. This is like the ultimate goal of the project in an integrative way, like a simulation platform. Although there are simulation platforms that are already available. Okay, but many times these platforms are like black boxes, and there are a lot of variables, parameters, and it's difficult to see or to understand what's going on there. So the idea is to use big models also, sometimes not so big, because sometimes with simple models, we can explain very complicated dynamics, as Klaus was explaining. And the idea is to end up in a kind of simulation platform or reports, making advices about possible management plans in specific regions. And this is why I am very excited with this project, because we have 3 case studies. These are 3 places in which there are marine protected areas. So this is in Øresund, which is a strait between Denmark and Sweden. Here we have Copenhagen, more or less. And the other one is Madeira, which is placed here, which is, as you can see, a much simpler case. And then we have Cervera-Banyuls, which is in France. So these case studies are not chosen randomly, because they represent different complexity systems. So here you can see that here we have a lot of different marine protected areas. Moreover, this region is very has a very intense traffic, ships and boats. Okay, so perturbations here are very strong. Madeira, it's like low complexity, and they are like in a phase design. Okay, so they are thinking in so these are the islands. Okay, in color you have the marine protected areas, and here they are interested in knowing what happens if they declare this area here as a site of community importance. Okay, it means that it is a protected area, but it's not exclusive. Okay, so some activities are allowed, and they are designing the plan, and they want to know what happens if this do this, because you could think, oh, this is very good, but we have to prove that it's good or it can be done better. And finally, we have intermediate complexity in Cervera-Banyuls. This is a very old marine protected areas region that has an exclusive zone. So here, nobody can do anything. Okay, but of course, it has some controversies with fishers, and the idea is to try to reach an equilibrium, stable equilibrium. Okay. So here, well, this is a kind of hypothesis or starting idea, is that the design of current MPAs assumes several things that are, from our point of view, are non-trivial. Is that usually it is thought that MPAs can follow a continuum of protection from more protected to less protected, and that this may be very good. Okay, intuitively it may seem good, but since the systems are highly nonlinear and we are also having strong perturbations from the human activities, it's not trivial that this must be like this. Okay, and well, the closer the full protection an MPA is, the more it contributes to healthy oceans and benefit people. This could be also logical, but we need to quantify and understand all these assumptions. Okay, ecological systems are highly nonlinear by definition, and we can find tipping points. We can have different types of transient behaviors between states, and this is something that have to be analyzed very carefully. Okay, so now I will move to the structure of the project. So this is a diagram like summarizing the work packages and the tasks. So the group in Denmark is studying the relationship between diversity and ecosystem services from already existing marine protected areas. So they are working with available data on these areas. Also, we have this monitoring requirement in order to try to see what species are the ones that should be monitored and at what frequency. Then we have work package 2, which is the modeling work package, in which we are like making models in order to decide which parameters, which interventions may be driving the systems to more desirable states. And finally, we have the integration of the management. Okay, this is a kind of overall summary of how the project will work. This is more conceptual, but the idea is that from the modeling point of view, we can assume that biodiversity will be affected by the pressure, the tourism pressure, and for example, fishing pressure, which depending on the place can be very intensive if you compare it with recreative fishing. And our hypothesis is that there are boundaries in this. This could be also another thing like pollution or whatever. There are boundaries in the preservation of biodiversity that can be explained mathematically with bifurcation theory. Bifurcation theory is a very well-established discipline, and we know a lot about bifurcations. And also, what happens when, first, what is the nature of the bifurcation? So if this is a discontinuous bifurcation, so the, for example, biodiversity is declining slowly, and we don't know if this will go slowly until extinction or we will have a jump. Okay, this is what in ecology it's called a tipping point, or if the transition is more smooth and it has important consequences. Okay. So these are the people that are involved. So here, the CRM, myself and Luis, that is in the research team, and also some colleagues at the Institute of Evolutionary Biology. Probably most of you know Blai Vidella, that was in our group, the group of mathematical and computational biology, and Sergi Valverde. And also we have in the advisory board, Daniel Oro, that is an ecologist with a very long experience in marine ecology, that is in Blanes, in the center of Blanes, CSIC. Okay, so now I will, the project, as I said, has just started. We have been thinking in some modeling, and we have also done like a couple of meetings with all the project. And now I will explain like 3 different approaches. Actually, during this week, we are doing the interviews because we need to recruit a postdoc to start working on this. So for the people in the audience that are not mathematicians, don't be scared. Okay. So first, let me explain one example of applied mathematics. Okay. So this is the case of Madeira. Okay. So this is the metapopulations. Sorry, the marine protected areas. So here we have different patches with different. So these are marine reserves with different protection degrees. And these people in Madeira are thinking in implementing this site of community importance. So they want to protect this region a little bit more. So how can we attack this problem from a mathematical point of view? So we are working in a metapopulation model. Metapopulations are populations that are fragmented, and the dynamics is governed by processes of colonization and extinction. Okay, so this is our conceptual map of MPAs for Madeira. We have 8 different patches. And well, here you will see a lot of equations, but very quickly, it's not difficult. We have X is the number of a given species in one of the patches that grows logistically, okay, grows exponentially at low population numbers. Then we have at the patch, which is the MPA, some fishing pressure. And then we have like two different functions, okay, which are related with the movement of the species. So here what we do is, for example, we have like the distance matrices, which are the distance between the MPAs. We have some dependence on how far will I move or how fast I will move from one patch to the other. That depends on the distance and on some parameter. Okay, and this is the matrix. This is a fraction of or the rate of arriving species from patch J to patch I. Okay, so here an interesting thing is that even this is a very abstract model, we can incorporate the distance between the MPAs and also, let's say, the size of the MPAs or the carrying capacity. And this is introduced with this scale. So if the marine protected area is very large, the carrying capacity will be higher, okay, and the species will be able to grow in larger numbers. Okay, and with this model we can evaluate the site of community importance, because we consider that when a species move, they have some probability of not arriving to the place, and this is in some ways modeling if the site of interest community importance is well protected or not. These models are very abstract, but here we have tried to make or to include the size of the MPAs and the connectivity. Okay, this is a starting model. Then on top to this model, we can introduce prey-predator dynamics depending on the species. Okay, but if we think in a big fish species with no predators and that is only fished by humans, then this model can give a lot of clues about the degree of protection that we need, for example, here in the yellow zone. Okay, just to finish, a couple of more things. People in Sweden, in Öresund, are interested in the dynamics of this ecosystem, which is mainly governed by cods, okay, which is a very important species, of course. And they want to know, so here you can see with the blue squares, the variables that we have identified. And all these arrows here are, let's say, interactions that will be introduced in this model by means of parameters about the fishery, the angling, changes in the environment. Of course, here we will end up with a very huge system. And with the people in Sweden, we have to discuss what kind of data we can use to make this model useful. Okay, although sometimes we can obtain interesting qualitative information. And finally, this is a model that Blai was working on. This is Banyul server, which is this area. Okay, so this is the fully protected area. Okay, these small rectangles here. You cannot go for swimming. You cannot go for fishing. It's completely protected. Then there is a partial protection zone and a out of the reserve. And they were thinking in extending this region here. And they want to know what will happen if they do so, and what is the best way of doing so. So we have done like a compartment models with reaction diffusion system in which we have different protection levels, and we can also have an important phenomenon that is spillover of the areas because species are moving here. And this is also a simple model that is intended to try to help these people that have this question and they don't know exactly which would be the best way to make these policies, let's say. And to finish my talk, taking into account what I said in the beginning. In order to increase biodiversity and maintain ecosystem services at a good level of exploitation. So thanks for your attention. And if you have some comments, questions, I will be happy to answer.